when I went to Springfield, and they finally worked my way out of that penitentiary, they put me outside. They had a camp outside. They gave me the job riding a lawnmower. I said, "You from Kansas City?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." He said, "You know, he used to ride that lawnmower." I said, "Who?" He said, "Frankie Robertson."
Oh,
I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "He worked. He was a good worker too. He used to mow the grass out on the compound because you always had the warden, the associate warden, and all the officers that lived on the area, so they could get to the penitentiary. Yeah,
interesting. What was he?
Surprised me. Huh?
Remember what he was in for?
This still here, I think.
Was it for the loan sharking?
Loan
extortion,
sharking.
probably. Here, let me.
Extortion and loan sharking, probably. You know.
Well, welcome all you wiretappers back into the studio of Gangland Wire. As you can see, I'm sitting here with a friend of mine, Steve St. John. Now, he's been on the show before. Just a little history about Steve. Oh, by the way, Steve, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too.
We're both glad we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyhow, a little history. Steve was involved in some drug dealing and fencing up activities back in the 90s and 80s, late 80s. And I was a sergeant at the intelligence unit, and the Bureau came to us and said, we got a guy, we've got an informant, a cooperating witness, shall we say, on a guy, and he's kind of loosely connected to the mob. We don't know, but we want some help, and we're going to work a case up on him. And so we said, sure. So I throw a crew in with this nice young FBI agent who was a eager beaver gung-ho dude. Was he eager beaver and gung-ho, Steve?
Oh, and then some.
And then some. Yeah. We follow Steve all over the place. Kind of a funny little story about that, Steve, is I can't remember. I think I've told you this. There was everybody had freedom phones at the time. The wireless cordless phones.
Yes,
Those were all the rage. We had even given one to Junior Bradley. Had a thief take one in and give it to Junior Bradley to get him to use it, because legally you could listen on one of those cordless phones. Yeah. And a lot of people didn't really quite understand that because all this brand new technology. So, so we set up in a van pretty close with a police scanner, and had it tuned into those bands that the 2-channel kind of cordless phones had, but you never really used it. That nothing that anybody cared about. If you did,
I had a machine on there, a scanner that when I would call them or they'd call me, we'd hit a button and it'd scan maybe for 5 minutes, and it had to come up green to talk. And if it come up red, then you just hang up.
Oh,
that means somebody's they had what they call the pin register on the phone. I found out several years later, but it told us that there was somebody listening.
Yeah. So
this piece cost about $500, but it was well worth it, as you well know.
Yeah, the pin register would just tell you what numbers are being called, and you can learn a lot from the pin register, but it's a lot of work. And you can learn wiretap's a lot of work too. Yeah. But mainly, what we heard was a neighboring businessman worrying with his girlfriend that his wife was going to find out that he had charged a room down at the Crown Center Hotel for him and his girlfriend. If she got the bill first, and he was talking about how he needed to get that bill out of the mailbox first.
That could have been anybody down there,
So at least we had a little fun listening to you and following you around. And anyhow, long story short, they made a case on him, and this guy who had set him up. You didn't actually go to trial, did you?
No, I had too much.
Right, yeah, but you didn't cop either.
Oh, no.
I mean, you copped in a way, but you didn't give up anything.
I just pled guilty.
Right. Well, they were after you to give up something.
Absolutely.
So, anyhow, he did his time. He did, what'd you do? Like 8, 9 years?
8, 9, somewhere like that.
10, 11 years. Man, it's, and this was, as I told Steve, dude, you got caught at a time when the drug war was in full-fledged. The Bureau had taken over from the DEA a lot of drug cases, and added more manpower into it. And, and they passed those mandatory minimums. And it was just, if that had been 10 years before, you'd probably done 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, if that.
And so anyhow, and now most of that shit's legal. If it's not legal, it's almost legal. And so after Steve found out about me, mutual friend of ours, and he got hold of me, or I got hold of him, or I told the guy to have him get hold of me. So we met for coffee over at your house. Yeah. And so we met and talked, and he's been on the show before, and I don't think I ever really told kind of the genesis of that. We've been friends ever since. We get together for coffee about once or twice a week, and we're going to go meet a podcast fan, local fan who is a chef at a really high-end restaurant here in Kansas City. Yeah. So he's gonna, and we have to go after the lunch rush about 12:30, and he's gonna fix us a really nice lunch. And so that's, you do something for the podcast. Have me and Steve come over for lunch one of these days, or any more chefs out there.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess it's got to be in Kansas City, but
that's right.
We got to get John David DiCapo down to Italian Gardens and start, buying us lunch.
He's got a great place.
He does. If you're in Kansas City, you got to go to the new Italian Gardens. John David DiCapo, son of Carl DiCapo, who ran it for years and years and years, his family restaurant. And he's opened up a place about 19th, and I want to say Charlotte, or
right next to Tension Envelope.
Locust, down by Tension Envelope. That's only for you local people here in Kansas City. And if you do, tell them the Gangland Wire and the podcast, and I sent it and sent you, and ask for the Steve St. John discount.
That's right.
And what he'll do is he'll double the price on you. So don't do that. So anyhow, Steve and I just played I'm at the end of this show. I'm going to play the whole thing. If you listen to this minute of this tape, and then Steve and I are going to talk about this and talk about the loan sharking business and the collection business in general, and in Kansas City in particular. So listen to this.
No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. I want some money. Now I'm going to get your ass. Okay. You understand me what I'm saying? Yes. I'm fed up with your ass. Okay. You've been fucking with me long enough. Do you understand? I'm sorry, Frank. Do you understand you've been fucking with me? Yeah. Do you understand me, boy? Yes, sir. Oh, don't tell me nothing, motherfucker. I'm sorry. I'm waiting so motherfucking long. I know to get my goddamn money from you. Sorry. Sorry, you fucking I'll get it this week. Oh, tell me nothing, motherfucker. I'll get it this week. Man, I'll get it this week. Time for my motherfucking money. You come down to my place, my business. You came down here for fucking months looking for motherfucking money. And I gave it to you. You came every day. You understand? I know it. Every fucking day you came down here. I know it. Then I gave you the fucking money. You cut your own deal. I said, you know what you're doing, boy? Don't take this from me unless you can pay me. I remember your exact words. You understand? I remember your exact words. You know why I'm hurting inside? Because I was your friend.
So, Steve, now you've listened to this whole thing now.
Yes. Uh-huh.
and you know this guy. The voice who is the collector in this is Frank Robertson. Mm-hmm. And the guy who owes the money is a guy named Ray Holloway. Now, Ray Holloway, I kind of had a little history with him, although not directly. I had an informant that was in the used car business. First informant I ever made when I came to the intelligence unit. And he knew Ray Holloway, and he knew Frank Robinson, he knew Carl Spiro, he knew a guy named Joe Sigliano and Jimmy Duarte. And these were all people involved in the used car business and gambling and bank fraud. And it's kind of a little conglomeration of people that what they did, they got a banker that they owned. And so he started making loans to people without doing any credit checks, and they were never intended on paying them back. And so that was kind of that little thing was that. But they also, like my informant, he told me, he said that Frankie Robinson in particular, and I think Jimmy Duarte, he was the only one that was really a made guy. He was a pretty important mobster in Kansas City, not well known outside of Kansas City. Came to him and wanted to finance him in a used car business. He had a body shop and a tow truck, and he'd gone out and repoed cars for some of these other guys. and helped Carl Sparrow one time with a stolen bulldozer. And he told me about it. And he said, Gary, he said, I'm not going to do it. He said, you get in business. Those people, you're looking for trouble. I said, you're right, John. I was wishing he would do it so I could learn more, but he didn't do it. And so Holloway he was like a car salesman wannabe, these guys that have these little corner used car lots and have 2 or 3 cars for sale. He would maybe Curbstone's cars, things like that. He was one of those guys and always needing money and a degenerate gambler too. So he got a few years later, Frankie Robertson is running another used car lot. This was out south. He's got another one over on the east side of Kansas City. And as a matter of fact, Steve, after he got out of prison, opened up a used car lot in the same place.
Yes.
San Juan Motors, buy here, pay here lot, which is kind of legalized loan sharking in a way.
Yeah.
He knows. But, because during this time, they've taken the cap off of interest rates in Missouri.
Yeah.
Smaller loans. And you could do that then. Back then, they had these caps on interest rates. And so it became loan sharking or usury. Usury is the old term for it. But they removed a lot of that. And it became really legal to charge 400 or 500% on a loan. And this buy here, pay here car business, if you've ever dealt with those guys, you buy a car for $1,000, they'll turn around and sell it for $5,000. And you got to sign for it. And they always sell it to people with a job. And many times people will lose their job or something will happen to the car and then they can't make the payments. They just go repo it and fix it up and resell it again. So it's a service that poor people, they don't have any place else to go for cars. And many times they don't have credit and you extend credit to anybody,
they done burn everybody else in town.
So that's kind of like that. Now let's talk about legalized loan sharking, because I know you know a little bit about it. Now, you never really did it, but you had friends that were involved with that. And every mob organization will have loan sharks. They'll have money that they put on the streets. You read any mob book and they'll talk about, I got so much money, let's put it on the streets, get so many points on the money. And then you got a guy that will take that money and invest it. But they invested in usually degenerate gamblers has been my experience.
Yeah.
And hustlers of all kinds. So you had a friend guy named Bob Ferrara who always had a hustle. Tell us a little bit about Bob Ferrara.
Bob Ferrara was, I'll tell you, be honest with you, he was my idol.
He knew how to make money.
It's a weird deal. When I went away to Leavenworth, this is crazy. He was married to a girl named Jeannie. Okay, Jeannie was a dear friend of me and Vicky's, and we had the little girl we had adopted. So I made arrangements when we went away that she would watch my daughter, and so. So when I went to Leavenworth, Bob Ferrara was waiting on me and had everything set up. And
he was in up there.
Oh, he was in up there. Yeah. So this is probably the first time the BOP ever did this, but I made them, and I did make them because I had, this is my daughter and this is Bob's wife. So she would come up there and get both of us pulled out to visit us. We used to argue. She'd bring $50, $60 in quarters. At that time, you'd have to, and I'd take the money. And I'd tell Bob, I'll take care of this. You're not good with money. And he just laughed. But he was the type of guy where everybody hoped that he'd make it, because when he made it, he was a millionaire. Yeah. And he's been a millionaire several times over. It's just that he just can't seem to get over that hump, because he'd take the money and blow it. He'd go out. He was a big drinker, big drinker. We was in the bottled water business together.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Emily Bottled Water Company, and me and my other partner thought this is gonna go crazy.
It was early in the bottled water.
Yeah, early in the bottled water business.
Yeah,
and it was going nuts, but he just couldn't keep his nose to the grindstone, and it just didn't.
What was that story about? He was down in Florida.
Oh, he
running
was.
the business.
He told my partner.
Your partner
Yeah.
sent you down there to
Yeah.
see what the hell was going on.
My partner, Nick, that I was in with at Leavenworth, we both liked Bobby because we knew he was a cash cow when he hit. You just had to be there when he hit. And he was, we're together and we got a warehouse and this and that, and we're taking over places to get our water. We had it at Worlds of Fun, and we had a lot of places. And so, you know, he's just kind of going downhill. We see money going out and not a lot of money coming in. And I told Nick, I said, you know, hey, this guy's spending more than we're making. I said, you know, now he wants to open an office in Florida. So what do we need an office in Florida for? Oh, he said, they drink a lot of water out there. They're health nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes to Florida. I think it was St. Pete's. So he's out there for about 30 days, and we give him enough time to get it going. And I told Nick, I said, this checkbook ain't looking too hot. I said, he's down there partying. Well, he said, you know what? Go get that checkbook. Fly out there and get that checkbook and bring it back. Shut him down. I said, okay. So I flew out there, and some girl answered the door, and she's about half naked and had a bikini on, very much a one. And oh, Bob's over here. I looked inside the building, the house, and had a big picture window. And he was sitting there at the picture window just looking. And he was drinking beer. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. He's knocking out that beer and looking out there right on the ocean. So you imagine how much
expensive place.
Expensive. So I go in and I'm standing next to him. I'm waiting. Hey, Bob, how are you? Puts his hand up. Okay. He says, I'm getting inspired. You're getting inspired. Well, I got inspired too, as Nick told me, come get that checkbook. What? You're taking the checkbook? I said, yeah, Bob, what are you doing? I knew it. I knew you guys were going to shut me down. They was going to send you out here. Bob, I said, it just ain't happening. So that's the way that business ended. And then later on,
did you get your money back? Yeah, I know you
no,
put money in it.
No.
You lost money.
And then later on, a U.S. attorney from down south came in and tried to come after us. He said, wait a minute. The hell are you talking about? Yeah. Well, he had done something on the side. Him and his son, they're both passed away now, and sold some water machines to a U.S. attorney of all people. Bob, what are you doing? We don't know these people. Well, and they nailed him on that. But
he had a scam some vending machine routes.
Yeah, he had a vending machines route, and he used to do real good at it. He would get guys that would be in the boiler room, you'd call it, and 4, 5, 6 guys, and they'd be in there, and they'd be trained to be done by 1 o'clock so they can all go drinking. Yeah. And they're sitting there, selling they were selling routes. Yeah. A guy says, well, he said, we got this route. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set you up. Each place, we're going to give you so many locations, so many machines. But here's the important part. Do you have a van? Well, yeah, I can get one. He said, get one. And get one with heavy, heavy shocks on it. Well, why is that? He said, because you're going to be carrying a lot of money. A lot of money. The quarters and all kinds. It's going to be weighed down. And that guy, of course, his ears perked up then. And so they'd sell him a package for like $20,000, $25,000. And a lot of times he wouldn't deliver the goods. Yeah. Well, it's on the way. It's on the way. It's on the way. And then he'd find himself buried, or he'd have to borrow money from the boys and send the money back or buy the machines to cover his ass. Cover his butt. And it was a vicious circle. And guy used to come down every week and pick up $500-600 from Bob is juice. Mm-hmm. Nothing towards the loan. Yeah. No, this is just juice. And so he was a good customer, and he lived like that. He was a great guy, but he just lived like that. That's what he did.
He started, I think he was, I've talked to several people about him. He was the greatest salesman trainer in the world.
The best.
This guy, again, kind of like Steve. Steve's one of those guys too. Once he went straight, he made good money.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob, if he'd ever gone straight, he could have made good money. Wouldn't you agree?
Serious money.
He was one of those guys. And I first got on to him, and I came to the intelligence unit, and they said, "Oh, go out and check on this guy, see how he's got this office here, see who's coming and going." And so I go out, and he's selling real like $500 vacuum.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, vacuum cleaner.
The vacuum cleaner thing.
Yes, he did real good in that.
He did, and they'd get these young people in, and they'd have these, have them a demonstrator, and they'd go out. Maybe they generate some leads for them, and mainly what they did is these vacuum cleaners. He probably only paid like $50 for them, but $100, but they were selling them for like $500.
Yeah.
And so then most young people will then go to grandma first thing with this new job.
All relatives.
Sell her a $500 vacuum cleaner, maybe an aunt and uncle or parents and siblings. They'd sell a relative some of these vacuum cleaners. And then a variety of things happened. They didn't get delivered. If they did deliver it, it was a poor quality for this really high price. And then they wouldn't pay the sales commissions. I mean, he had every scam going to cheat people that there was.
I remember he told me one time, he said, let me tell you something about the vacuum. That was before me and him was together. Let me tell you something about the vacuum cleaner business. He said, when you go in a house, he said, usually the people that buy these vacuum cleaners are not the wealthiest people in the world. They're people that are looking for payments or whatever. He said, I'd always look around, and he said, I'd see, because back then he said it was wallpaper. Yeah. So he said, I'd train these guys. I said, you go right to where that wallpaper is just a little bit loose, and you put that vacuum cleaner up there and fire it up, and that'll suck that wallpaper right on off. Cal said, my God. He said, yeah. He said, this is how good it is. Oh, she had to buy one. I mean, he had every angle. He was the best.
Yeah, he was.
He really was the best. He was that's just the way he was.
Another thing, do you remember the insulation business he got into?
I do.
So, see, these kinds of guys, they will take advantage of any like publicity, any kind of a trend, like the water the bottles of water. He saw that trend. So in the 70s, if you remember, the price of fuel oil got really high. I mean, really, really high. We had a lot of fuel oil users in Kansas City. So insulation came the thing. I had my house insulated. Probably everybody of a certain age had their house insulated if they lived in an older home, and even the newer homes weren't insulated particularly. And the older homes had no insulation in them. So Bob saw that. All of a sudden there's this down on Admiral Boulevard, over kind of close to the north end there, little business, and somebody reported back to us that, there's some mob guys going in and out of this business. So we go down there and start running the surveillance, and we see this truck with the name of something, A to Z insulation or some generic name like that. Whenever I see a company that's got this real generic name, I always think, I wonder what's going on there.
What's going on there?
And you see this big truck coming and going, and we like pull the paperwork, and he's done some paperwork. We filed like an LLC or something, and he sells insulation. And of course, that was the big deal, selling insulation. See, all these people going in the mornings, young people, that then during the day, you'll see a mob guy come in and then leave. Another one maybe the next day come in and leave. And we're going, what is going on? Now, we know it's Bob Farrar. We know he's a scammer. We know that he's been in the vacuum cleaner business. Now he's in the insulation business. I got a gal to go in there and ask for a job. She was a good-looking gal.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
She got it too, didn't she?
She got the job. She didn't stay very long because he was pretty aggressive with her. But she told me about, she sat through the sales training and kind of what the scam was. And then I found that I happened to see another one coming out later on, and we followed her away. And all of a sudden I realized she used to babysit for my kids. So we went ahead and caught her out if she got out of her car and asked her about it. And she told us, she said, she said, it's like a boiler room. And that's what the other guy reported. And we'd be on the phone, and calling people. And she said, we were really selling a lot of insulation, but the insulation was crap. Then we started getting complaints. They would get money, but they wouldn't go out and do the insulation, or it'd be a really crappy installation. Just everything was jacked up about it. And she said, I tried to tell them that if you would just run this business straight and do what you say you're going to do and have a good product. Or another thing is they found out later that this insulation was sold as fireproof.
Sure.
And then, of course, it wasn't. It was just, the cheapest stuff that they could get. And they were blowing it in, weren't doing a good job of that. And so that was another one of those scams.
Yeah.
And the mob guys going down there, what'd you tell me that they were doing? Picking up money.
Picking up money, yeah. Picking up money, sure.
Because they had probably invested a little bit in it.
Everybody would invest in him because he as a general rule, he usually hit.
Yeah. It's
like gambling, but he usually hit. But
he hit on this for a while.
Yeah.
Of course, it never lasts, but he did hit for a while on this.
I'll tell you a quick funny story. And you always meet different people. And in Leavenworth, like I said, me and him and quite a few other guys that we knew was together. And we're walking down the hallway one day, and guys checking in to do his time. Little old guy had his head down and lips were dribbling slobber, and he's got a handkerchief. And I said, oh my God, that guy don't look like he's going to make it. Bob looked up. He said, that son of a gun, that's Tad Burnett. It's Tad Burnett. Who the heck's that? He said, that guy cheated me out of $10,000. I said, God bless him then. If he got you, then he's a heck of a man. It was another vending machine guy that had sold Bob a factory that he didn't own and nailed him out of 10 grand. And it was quite the deal, and that guy's another story.
Yeah.
I'll go just a little bit further because it's very interesting. So I made friends with Tad Burnett. He was a law library clerk. And I told Tad, I said, how'd you get Bobby? He said, he ain't all that. I laughed. And come to find out, he was in Omaha. He lived in Omaha. Lincoln. And so he's selling vending machines, and he just nailing everybody as they come.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess he sold a couple of guys out in Florida quite a few machines, and it was quite a bit of money, like $25,000. Mm-hmm. And he got the money, and of course, when they got the machines, they were used machines. They weren't new. He was probably worse than Bobby. And the guy called him. He said, listen, this ain't what we agreed on. These machines are old. One of them got a crack in them. He said, listen, boys. He said, all you got to do is get them contact paper and cosmetique them up. That was his story. Cosmetique them up. And he said, the guy said, well, we'll cosmetique them, okay. Well, they hung up. This is true story. They come to Lincoln later in the week, and they're waiting for him when he comes outside his house, and they kidnap him, put him in the trunk. They're serious guys. Yeah. So he said, now, boys, he said, let's just calm down. He said, the safe will be open at a certain time, but it won't be till my secretary comes in. Let's go to Denny's. He said, breakfast is on. So he takes him to Denny's. And he knows that there's a detective in there that he sees every day. Yeah. So he gets in there and he yells, kidnap. And so they arrest these guys. So back then, as you well know, probably they had a squad called the Buncle Squad.
Yeah.
It was these scammers like Bobby.
Actually, a sergeant over the Buncle Squad for a while.
Yeah.
A year.
and so Tad, they questioned him, and Tad said, well, those machines were fine. And they told him, they said, Tad, these guys will kill you. They're dangerous. They got a dangerous records, and you better just get out of town or something. Well, long story short, probably 6-7 months later, the FBI came to see Tad, and they said, we need to talk to you. Do you know these guys? Well, yeah. He said, I know them. He said, well, we're looking for them. And he said, you better get some protection. Why is that? He said, because they're robbing banks out in Florida called Barnett banks. And we think the reason they're robbing them because they sound like Burnett. They hate you so much. But there's some banks called Barnett banks, and they was robbing a bunch of them.
These guys.
These two guys.
Yeah.
So one day, and they made a movie about this. I don't know the name of it. You could find it if you Google it. These guys were robbing these banks. I mean, they really got prolific. They was doing it twice a week. Well, FBI was on them, and they told everybody, these guys are dangerous now. Well, they robbed a bank. The FBI followed them, and they says, we're on these guys, but they know they're following us. They know we're following them, and they ain't running. They could care less.
Really?
So we need some backup. Next thing you know, these guys pulled in a cul-de-sac, and they said they knew it was a cul-de-sac. And they stationed their car, got out behind, and FBI started coming in. They had machine guns. Mm. And they opened fire on the FBI. I think they killed 2 or 3 FBI agents.
Oh, God, I remember that story. I remember that case.
Yeah. And the FBI agents did not have automatic weapons then. They had revolvers. And these guys outgunned them so bad. And I mean, they were shooting them in the legs. It was brutal. And the more they came, the more they shot. So these two guys finally killed them. But it says that the movie was something like the day the FBI ended or something like that. But it was about these guys that outgunned the FBI.
I have to look that one up.
And that guy was in Leavenworth with us. and Tad said, well, I'm sure glad to find out about that. A little bit late.
He's glad the FBI killed him.
Yeah.
Killed them.
So isn't that something? One guy does another.
Really.
But he was a Bob Ferrara from Lincoln.
He cheated Bob Ferrara.
Oh,
a small world there.
Small world. Yeah. And Bob hated him. I said, Bob, that's what you do. I said, just a little back at you.
So these loan sharks are mob guys that got money to invest or to loan out. It's not always just, part of it will be to a scammer like Bob.
Sure.
And they don't really want to ever hurt him.
He's a cash cow.
I think that guy, he invested some money in him. He was supposed to, make some money in the used car business. And then he did, and he screwed it off, or he was a gambler. I can't remember what it was, but he messed up the money. And they don't really ever want to, loan shark doesn't want to kill you.
No.
They really don't even want to hurt you. They just want you to pay the money.
They want your money.
And so like this Ray Holloway that Frankie was beating up so bad, he was such a small fish, I think, that there was really no other way to deal with the guy. I figured he could get by with Ferrara. They probably wouldn't beat him.
No.
Because they want to be able to go back to Ferrara.
And Ferrara ain't talking on nobody.
Yeah, right.
Trust me when I tell you.
That's true.
But anyway, it's Frankie. I went to that car lot. And my partner owned the
building,
property.
Right, yeah.
So we built the building. There was no building there. There was like
a trailer.
That day. And so we built the building. Some Amish built it. And Frankie used to come down there almost every day. Huh. He says, look, Steve, he said, this is where I got my start. And I'd start laughing.
That's where he went to jail.
And then he'd tell me the story. And I said, is that what happened, Frankie? And his saying was, that's right. That's right. Great guy. I love the guy. It just was, that was a business he was in.
Yeah, it was.
So
now, folks, that go back to Frankie Robertson and the loan sharking business and what he was doing again. He was, this guy had went to the FBI. That's how they got the tape. And they had a code word. And he refused to say the code word. So when he gets out, my friend Bill Owsley says, why didn't you, we could have come in. We could have saved you that beating. And he said, I just wanted to make sure that you made a good case on it. And they did. And Frankie went away for a while.
Yeah.
Up to Leavenworth and down to Springfield.
Yeah.
He mowed the grass in Springfield out here.
He did.
So anyhow, that's kind of the story of a little inside look at the loan sharking business and how mob guys will invest money in real life and in Kansas City in particular. Thanks a lot, folks. And look out for motorcycles. don't forget to hit me up on Venmo once in a while at Jinx Law or at Gangland Wire, one of the two. I can never remember my website. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming in, Steve.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay.
So what's happening? Just, want to find out a little bit about this deal, see if I can, Well, I got to do something, you know what I mean? The deal fell down. Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you why, bro. That's your fault. The deal fell down. Guy needs money like you do, this guy. He owns a restaurant and cocktail lounge, and he came by. See, he told me Wednesday night he wanted to do something, show him what he could do. Then he made that. Wait a minute, I got a guy. He needed somebody to give him a check. So he come by Saturday, I think it was. No, Friday night, Saturday. I can't remember what it was. He said, well, get the airline up. I said, well, guy can't make it in Monday. Got over up there. I said, I can't wait that long. He said, I got to do something now. I said, my business is fucked. I'm upside down. Yeah. I got to go to Ross away and hold it. I get somebody real fast. I called George Stratton. I said, Joe, you want to do a deal real fast? He said, yeah. So I'll do something. So supposedly the day, they supposed to get down the day. So the guy had to get it off. Yeah. I hear you. But I didn't have a checking account, so it would have been, No, Roy, I tell you Thursday about the thing, and you didn't even look like you was interested in coming down Thursday and talking to me. You know what I mean? If you come down Thursday, when I tell you about it, you come down, we might open you up a checking account Thursday, and you might be open Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. So that generally takes, like 7, 8 days. Well, whatever. Yeah. I can tell the guy you have, and now you got to start over. I was going to say, now you're talking about next week now. Yeah. For the deal even comes down. Yeah. So I don't know. The guy just, he needed money. He's up and down. His business is fast. He needed to pay bills, and he just said, I got to do it now. He says, now I get some out the way. Yeah. So I cut a deal with Joe. Yeah. I called Joe. I said, Joe, what can I make out of it? Set it up for you. He said, give me $5. He said, I'll give you $500. It's okay, fine, Joe. Give me $500. The deal comes through, whatever. Yeah. You're supposed to be working with the guy today. Yeah, the guy wanted to clear more off than what you got, Yeah. I'll put it this way here. I can knock some out. But, right. Well, I'd like to too. But, so that fell through. I don't know. Have you got anything else? I ain't got nothing. Do you have nothing money at all? Do you have nothing? Money? No, nothing. Money, anything. Any kind of deals working or what? What do you got working? Jack's taking inventory today. Well, I want to know where I'm going to get my money. That's what I want to know. When am I going to get my money? As soon as Jack gets his. Well, I've been hearing this for 6 or 7 months now. I'm getting aggravated with it. Well, okay. I know. You don't come down here and see me when you're supposed to come out. You tell me things are bad. Do you think other people got problems with that? Everybody does. Okay. Everybody does. Everybody. How come other people pay and you can't? So other people got problems like you? Sure. How do they pay? They got families. How do they pay? Explain it to me. You're the same thing as you are. Well, I'll tell you one thing that happened to me. This is unforeseen. My boy broke his leg. Well, what's that got to do with it? Broke the leg. So how much is that? It cost me about $500. Oh, okay. They won't even let him in the darn hospital, without no money. You know what I mean? It's aggravating. Well, I know it. Hey, I pray shield for you for $1,500, $2,000. I'm getting a deal so you can pay me. Yeah, pay you. That's right. Come down here fucking Thursday to even come and talk to me. If I was somebody, some guy gives me a deal, and I said, listen to it. You didn't have to do it or not, but listen, if you want to, you go. Yeah. So give me an answer right then. You want to do it? If you're interested, let's start moving with it. Yeah. Well, how much you need over there? Like $300. Well, you knew I was there. Yeah, you knew I was there. You got to wait some money. I got to wait till you're ready to come down and see me. You owe me money. I got to wait till you come and see me. Yeah. That's wrong. That's wrong. I agree. Well, I want some money. Well, okay. I'm tired. No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. I want some money. Now I'm going to get your ass. Okay. You understand me? Yes. I'm fed up with your ass. Okay. You've been fucking with me long enough. Do you understand? I'm sorry, Frank. Do you understand you've been working with me? Yeah. Do you understand me, boy? Yes, sir. Oh, you tell me nothing, motherfucker. I'm sorry. I'm waiting so motherfucking long. I know to get my goddamn money from you. Sorry. Sorry, you I'll get it this week. Oh, you mean nothing, motherfucker. I'll get it this week. Man, I'll get it this week. That's for my motherfucking money. You come down to my place, my business. You came down here for fucking money. Looking for motherfucking money. And I gave it to you. Came every day. I'm not. Every fucking day you came down here. I'm not. Then I gave you the fucking money. You cut your own deal. I said, you know what you're doing, Roy? Don't take this from unless you can pay me. I remember your exact words. You understand? I remember your exact words. You know why I'm hurting inside? Because I was your friend.
Saying I found out where your sister lives, or found where where your brother-in-law works at. If I want to go fuck with them, I can fuck with them.
I know that.
You know what $500 does today? You know what $500 does? I'm busting people off right now. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm asking.
That's right. That's a lot.
I like to have 500.
So you know what it does, though. I'm saying. You know what it buys for 500?
Yeah. Gotta get off.
Get somebody fucked up real bad for 500.
Yeah.
Family fuckers, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
You hear about what happened to Joe's friend? You know that guy? What's this guy who sells? Joe's fucking like Joey. What's his name? Hey, Billy, I want you to say this in front of Ross, okay? Just sit right there. Just sit down. Don't get up for nothing. You understand? Hey, Ross! I want you to tell him what I did, what you just told me.
I'll show him this here.
I'm tired of the fucking lying. You know, you don't know that. You don't know how bad I like to choke you right now. You don't know how bad I'm keeping myself.
Please don't. I will.
Shut the door for me.
I told Frank I will have his money by Friday.
I just want you to hear the conversation, that's all. To verify that I'm not thinking of this. You understand?
I told him that I will have his money by Friday.
You know, like I just told you, I'm just tired. Is that what it takes to punch you in the mouth like I did a while ago?
No.
Huh?
No, I understand now.
I'm going to make you understand. I'm going to tell you something.
I understand.
I want my motherfucking money.
I understand.
You jacked me off enough. You lied to me, you jacked me off. You must think fucking Italians are dumb cocks.
No, I don't.
You come to them, you ask them for something you don't want to pay.
I want to pay, believe me. I do want to pay.
You better get my motherfucking money. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You got any money on you right now?
$3.
That's all you got. You got nothing else?
$3.
You know what the fuck I need with a coin?
Well, I was going to show you.
That's all, huh?
That's it.
When you going to get my money?
By Friday. I will have it by Friday. By Friday. Told you. You can. I put it in writing.
So what's that? What is it? I can wipe my ass with that, really?
You know, that's what I mean.
I mean, I can wipe my ass really with that in.
No. You will have your money by Friday.
What made the difference? That you're going to be so certain this Friday and not 6 months ago Friday?
I'm tired of fucking with it, and I know you're tired of fucking with it.
You know what you're going to get if I don't get it?
No. Well, I'm not going to worry about that because I know you're going to get your money.
What do you think you're going to get if I don't get it?
You're going to get hurt.
That's right. Do you understand what I'm just telling you?
Yeah.
Tell me, do you understand? Oh, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Oh, Frank, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You do it again, motherfucker.
Okay, I won't, Frank, please.
You understand, motherfucker?
Yes, sir. Please don't. Any more, please. Would you now? Please, man.
Yeah, please. I missed a lot of sleep tonight fucking with you. A lot of sleep I missed. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
You understand me?
Yes.
You want to get my money?
You will have your money by Friday.
You're going to call me and everything?
Yes, I'll call you every day.
Get your shit. Wipe your face off, please. I'm telling you, don't think it's no joke now.
I know it's not. I know it's not. I know it's not.
Don't think it's no joke.
I know it's not. I know
Put some water on it, wipe your face. I'm not going to joke with you no more. Joking time is over. That's it. No, it's not. I've busted everything. I'm telling you, boy, don't fuck with me. I won't. You understand me?
I understand.
And I don't want to hear about no FBI. I don't want to hear about nothing. Okay. This is what you owe me right here. Date this motherfucker. I want you to date it. Date it back about 6 months ago.
What date?
Would be about 6 months ago. That's when you owed me.
It was December, like the 15th.
That's good. 81. 81.
No, this is 83. No, you're right.
Yeah. You understand what I said, Ron?
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me now, Ron. I'm telling you.
I won't.
I'm telling you, all right?
Okay. I won't.
Do you think you understand?
I understand.
Huh? I'm telling you, don't let me come looking for you. I swear to God, I'll bother your family now. Just go get my motherfucking money, get my money.
Okay. I'm going right now.
You sure?
I'm going right now.
Go ahead.